I'm Edward from Richardson Marine, yeah, here we are in King Island, or close to it anyway. You know, done a trip across Bass Strait to King Island, pretty much situated between here and Tassie. It's one of those trips that you know, the weather has to fall at the right time, and everyone needs to be able to come together, sort of the drop of the hat. So it's not easy to organise, but somehow when you guys come down here, it does. The weather's been good to us. There've been so many shipwrecks at King Island. I can imagine why. You know, you can be cruising along offshore, 3 mile offshore, and suddenly there's a bombie in front of you that's not really marked or anything. So you can quite easily see how there's been so many shipwrecks at such a treacherous coast. So what, 3 hours we think it's going to take? 2 hours? 2 hours for the guys that have a go at it. So the idea is to catch a few crays and catch a few fish, and you know, hopefully make it to a beach tonight and have a few beers. For us, the swell was quite low and the easterly was blowing, so it was quite predictable, and we managed to get there in one piece anyway. Yeah, we had a great lineup of boats from really old to new. Our first boat we ever built for Seacruiser was on board, our 7 metre. Tom and Bill Alston own now, and we had an old 233 with Timmy Brett operating, and of course the newest one off the rank is the 9 metre Seacruiser for Zach Cross. So really diverse, lot of boats, and you know, we took obviously we took the 2400 Stabie, which we've been demoing for the year. So it was a great opportunity to give it a run out in the Southern Ocean. Yeah, look, I suppose there was a couple of different goals, you know, like we taking Scotty and Zach over there. They were pretty keen to do some fishing and have a scout around the area and see what was available. But for me, you know, and for the other crews, it was trying to catch a cray. You know, the crays are in this beautiful, cold, clear water over there that's so fresh, and that current that runs around it. And if the crays grow quicker over there, or maybe not as many people catching them, to let them grow to a great size, you know, so you get these big crays. So that was the hunt for us, to go and chase big crays. It's definitely a different country to what we're used to here. You know, it's sort of it is a lot more bouldery than we're used to here. Here we've got the limestone shelves. Over there it's bouldery, and you're looking for sort of pockets or somewhere for a cray to live around those boulders, and they sort of continue up onto the islands. We ended up being on the northern side of an island, and oh look, it was beautiful, it was picturesque. It could have been anywhere in Australia on a white beach with beautiful clear blue water, you know, lapping up, and get the boats lined up there and to have a really safe anchorage and roll a swag out on the beach with a fire going, eating fresh seafood. Really doesn't get much better, I don't think. Each boat came in with a different catch, so we're lucky enough to, you know, catch a squid from one boat, and Scotty had a few flathead tails and a bit of gummy. And there was crayfish, abalone. So the boys were, you know, quite well prepared to prepare it and cook it for everyone. You know, to be able to just throw, you know, such fresh raw seafood onto a barbie is definitely the best way to eat it. You know, you get that flavour. Yeah, well, it was a clear night too, so that worked for us. Definitely by the time we got into our swag, we were ready to go sleep. But, it was quite a damp night, but just sleeping under those stars and lining up along that beach was quite peaceful. We were really keen on running the Stabie over there. We hadn't done a really like a long trip in that 2400. We've been demoing it here for 6 months or so, but to have the opportunity to spend a lot of time in it was really advantageous for us, because to be able to load that boat up with all the gear we had and run in a straight line, you know, for 60 mile, you really got used to how the hull wanted to work. Now, the big advantage of that boat is that it didn't really matter where you put the weight in it. You know, we couldn't even get into the cab. We had so much gear up there. We had a compressor and the hose reel, and everything was sort of offset. We had 4 blokes at one stage. We had six guys on the second day in there, and the boat seemed to just perform whatever you did with it. So as far as stability goes, it works in your favour with diving. Those nice wide gunnels giving you somewhere to sit and to get your gear on. The manoeuvrability of that, especially that 2400 with the twins on it. The twin 140s are such a great match. We need to be able to get in close to reef and then be able to back out and manoeuvre quite easily. And the twin motors coupled up with that Game Chaser transom just works so well. Quite amazingly, when we When we got back to Apollo Bay, we went through our trip meter and we'd done 264.7 kilometres and used 264 litres. So dual 140s on most boats just tend to be that number. So the fuel efficiency, that hull is so efficient in the water. Yeah, I think with that boat, like those options we've put on that 2400 really suit what we do down here. To be able to add that access, that dive door through the transom and the boarding ladder, which gives us, you can still get up that boarding ladder with your fins on, and to be able to get yourself inside the boat, and then take your gear off by sitting on those wide gunnels. There's plenty of space to store your gear away in those pockets, and that live well that is normally used for keeping liveys swimming is a great option for keeping a cray alive as well. So we were able to run that tank all night, so our crays were still live the next morning and the next day. So to be able to do that is a great advantage as well. So the way that boat's set up, it's perfect for us to go diving. Performance of that 2400 was definitely the most fuel efficient boat. Even the Seacruiser with the twin 140s on as well was slightly more fuel than the 2400, so it was super fuel efficient. And just that directional stability that the twin engines give you, I reckon just holds you really straight in any direction of sea. That definitely works to your advantage in the Southern Ocean. We've always tended to use compressors. Gives you advantage of diving different guys and not having to refill tanks. We've just recently changed over and got a new compressor. The air is really clean, and we can run 2 to 3 divers off that compressor and have multiple dives through the day. So to go somewhere like King Island without taking 10 or 15 tanks with you, just to be able to take the hooker unit is a great advantage. A hooker's a basic unit. They run a 5.5 horsepower Honda engine into a compressor head that pushes air into the frame of the compressor, and then from there it goes through a water trap and then some carbon filters before it's released out into the outlets for the hoses. So by the time it gets to you, the air's been cleaned, the moisture's been taken out of it. I suppose one of the other great advantages of a hooker is that you don't have to clamber around with that big BC on and that tank, so you're definitely more streamlined in the water and using less energy. We tend to just still run that standard weight belt and connect the hose to that, and then just run the regulator up to your mouth. So really, I guess all you're missing from that tank situation is the BC and the tank. Just a lot less gear to put on. Like we run that custom alley reel that we built here, and we can fit 2 hoses on that. So we run 2 80-metre hoses. We can run a Y on the end of one of those, which is with 15-metre runs on them. Generally speaking, that hose will float until it gets to you and then drops down where you're diving. So it doesn't tend to inhibit any movement. As soon as you get to the water, you're weightless. It's a beautiful feeling. So luckily enough, when we're over in King Island, the water was so clear. I've seen that clear for a long time. You can see the bottom at 10 metres. You can see well out in front of you. Generally speaking, you drop into the water and get to the bottom and equalise, and then you sort of just start searching for ground that you think that a crayfish is going to live in, which is generally a dark ledge or somewhere out of the swell. Generally where there's a bit of current running past, where they can feed from their ledge, but they like to be somewhere where they can hide, so they like to be able to get back and protect themselves. On the right day, hopefully you're swimming along and they're sitting at the front of their ledge, or if you're lucky enough they're outside their ledge. You're trying to grab a cray by its horns, that they can't throw their horns off. You grab it by the leg, they'll just throw their legs off. So what you're ultimately trying to do is grab them by their 2 horns. Yeah, the bigger the cray, the bigger the battle, isn't it? If he goes back in his hole, you try and follow him in there, I guess. But I think what I love about diving is just that weightless feeling and the thrill of seeing a big cray, or seeing big fish, or just enjoying the environment underwater.